Hear me? This is Kevin Martin, and I'd like to welcome you all to our third webinar. Today we're going to be discussing, let me get back to that slide. We're going to be discussing the KYTC task menu briefly and then go into some really cool MicroStation tips and tricks. Alex Smith will be showing us that. I think first, Wendy Southworth is going to go through LiDAR tools. We get a lot of questions on LiDAR, and it's becoming much more prevalent in our business model. So she's going to run through that and can show you how to get it and how to incorporate it into your design. If you guys have been looking at the slideshow that's been playing, we've got an upcoming schedule listed. I did leave one off by mistake. Sorry, Troy. I think it's next Tuesday, Troy Woodyard is going to cover importing data from MicroStation inroads into HECRAS. It's a pretty neat one. He's got a lot of material to cover, kind of filling in the gaps that we don't normally get with the inroads classes and then with Dr. Chase's HECRAS classes. So he's going to show you try to get your design data sections and stream data up into HECRAS. It should be pretty interesting. August 20th will be the next regularly scheduled monthly webinar. Henry Wells was going to go through custom macros. There's a lot of material there. He's got a lot of stuff, really cool stuff developed. So he's going to show that off. And if you notice, September is to be determined. Like we did last time, when you close the webinar, you should get a poll. One of the questions in this poll is what sessions would you like to see? So whatever gets the most votes, we're going to slip that into that September time slot. So really looking for your input. Let's see. And then I wanted just to point out to you guys, this is from the design web page. The right-hand arrow in the lower right-hand corner is the software and support link under resources. Takes you to this page, and you can notice there the left-hand, well, if it stopped, the left-hand arrow points to where we're setting up links to the webinar. So that's the first one that we did. It'll link you out to YouTube in case you guys want to go back through this. We're still working on processing the captioning for the second webinar, but we're trying to get those out as quickly as we can. Okay, I'm going to launch a poll question here before we get started, actually a couple of them. If you guys would please answer the poll question for me, just to kind of see who's out there, if we're getting any new people in. Alright, so I'll go ahead and close that. Looks like most of you are return users. Really appreciate that. Hopefully we're doing a good job giving you some good information. Now, I think we're getting ready to start here. I'm going to launch this other poll just to kind of see what your experience level is with LiDAR data before Wendy gets started. So if you please complete that real quick. Apologize if you can hear the 9 Inch Nails music in the background. Turn that down. All right, we'll go ahead and close that. Looks like it's pretty close to an even split people that have used LiDAR data, so this hopefully be informative to everyone, especially those that haven't used it yet. This is good information. We're eventually going to get statewide coverage. We've got a lot of it right now. We've been directed by the Secretary to utilize this on every project that we can because it's a cost-saving measure. And we're putting money into the pot to collect this data statewide anyway. So try to make the best use of our resources. So I'm going to turn it over to Wendy Southworth and let her educate us on LiDAR. Ready, Wendy?
I'm ready. Are you all ready? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good. Go.
Okay. All right. Okay, my name is Wendy Southworth. I work here in Central Office in the CAD Development Branch, and I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar on LiDAR tools. And with the information provided in this webinar, you will learn how to obtain and utilize LiDAR data for your highway design projects. A little intro about LiDAR data, if you don't already know. It is actually a point cloud of raw data that contains millions of points that can be used to create a ground surface for any given area. It is easily used with GIS software and MicroStation. And the file type is an LAS file. And all the LAS files are in Kentucky single zone and in U.S. survey feet. The file includes elevations for the ground surface, buildings, highway overpasses, forest canopies, and really anything else that the laser beam encounters when the data is being collected. Besides using MicroStation to pull in LiDAR data, there is a way that we can access a website through the KYTC homepage to obtain at least the tile information that we would need for a project area. And you'll go to the KYTC homepage, click on Highway Design, Survey Coordination, and then Survey Coordination Resources, and then click on LiDAR data, and then that'll take you to the website. And this is what the screen that'll pull up, and I'm getting ready to show you here in just a minute. I'll walk through it real quick. Okay, let's do that. Whoops, let's see here. Let's go to the home page. Okay, so we'll go to Highway Design. And over here is Survey Coordination under Highway Design. So click on that. And then under Survey Coordination Resources, we have LiDAR data. And so that'll pop up our website. And I want to note real quick while that's pulling up that this information on this website is available to KYTC employees and consultants. The consultants are able to use this website to obtain the LiDAR tile names for the projects in which they have been selected to work on. And you'll notice here on our map that there are a lot of blue areas, and there's a small little area down here in pink. The section of pink tiles in District 11 indicate that because it's pink, it's saying that the LiDAR coverage in this area does not meet KYTC specifications. The LiDAR coverage can still be used for a project, but would need to be carefully checked and adjusted for a project. The adjustment would be a vertical adjustment and could be a very small adjustment, or it could be a much larger one. But that just goes to show you why it is so important to check your data before you use it for your project. So this shows this is our LiDAR data available all through Kentucky. So I'm going to do a search real quick. You can search by city, county, road number, name, district, quad, or Latin long. So I'm going to do a search by road number, and we're going to go to Floyd County. Floyd. And we're going to go to Kentucky 80, or Kentucky 680. Scroll down here. 680. I'm just going to show you, and then you hit locate. I'll show you how it pops up. It takes it a minute or two. Okay, so the highlighted in the blue is the Kentucky 80 route, and the area that I'm interested in more specifically is this area right in here. This area right in here. And so the tiles I would need, you can tell the tile name and the year that the tiles were placed or taken are shown. We have so I would probably need these 4 tiles here. So I would, if I was a consultant, I would write that down, and then I would submit that in a request to the project manager. Okay, So now that we've demonstrated that, I'm going to pull up my MicroStation file, and we're going to pull in some information into MicroStation. So another way we can determine what LiDAR data we need if we don't have access to the website is by using MicroStation and a macro that KYTC has created that can be attached to your MicroStation drawing. And I want to note too, I'm using the KYTC 3D.dgn, and I want to reiterate, you always want to make sure you have an updated seed file that you're using. That way you know for sure that you have the right working units and you're in the right geographic coordinates. So I'm going to check that real quick. So I go to Settings and Design File, and here's my working units, and I am in US survey feet, so that's good. And then I'll go to Tools and Geographic, and I am in Kentucky Single Zone, so that's good too. Okay, so close that. And I had previously created a project file for my Kentucky 80 in Floyd County, Kentucky 680 in Floyd County, and so what I've done is I referenced it into this drawing. As you can see here, it's referenced in, so that I'd have a reference for because we're going to clip the tiles, and so that was my boundary to be able to clip my tiles. Okay, so let's get down to business here. We want to go to KYTC Task, KYTC Software, and we want to open up Kentucky LiDAR. And it'll ask you to agree to these terms. And of course, you have to hit I agree and then hit OK. And I want to make a note too, this tool is not available to consultants. They are not able to map to the drive where this data is stored. So it is the responsibility of the KYTC employees to provide this information to consultants once they have been selected for a project. So the consultants do not have access to this. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to attach the LiDAR grid. And it's coming. Okay, it's coming slowly. Let me do a fit view here. There we go. It just took it a few minutes. And so the 4 tiles that I had seen on the website that I needed are the same 4 tiles that it shows I would need here. North 128, East 399, North 128, East 3400, and North 129, East 399, North 129, East 400. So you can either manually type the tiles into the box and then hit your enter key and it'll pop it right in there, or you can hit the select tiles by data points and you can just click in the tile that you need. As you see, it adds it to my box, and I can click there, and then it adds it. I have already pulled in the bottom 3 tiles, so actually I'm going to remove them from my list. So I want to I'll select it, and then I'll hit remove tile from list. So this is an easy way. If you realize you've got one you don't really need, you can remove it from your list. Or if you don't need any of them, then you can remove all. Okay, now we need to tell the macro where we want to store this information. And remember that these LAS files are extremely large, and we don't want to put them in ProjectWise for sure. So we need to make sure that we have a spot on our desktop or somewhere in our local computer where you can store these files, these LAS files. So for my case, I'm going to put it on my desktop. So I got my desktop selected, and then I'm going to hit Copy Tiles. And this KY LiDAR status window pops up, and that kind of tells you the process that it's going through to map to the drive and then copy these files down to your to your desktop or your specified location. And we'll actually get an operation complete as soon, there we go. So operation complete, so we hit close. And before we close this, this window here, we want to make sure that we detach the LiDAR grid. So I'm going to detach that, okay, and then we'll quit that. Okay, now we need to be able to pull in our LAS files into MicroStation. So the best way to do that through MicroStation is to go to data acquisition, and you can actually go through your task menu if you don't have it. A lot of people have their set up differently, and you can click on it through here as well. But I've already got mine pulled up here, so I'm just going to click on that. And it pops up two windows. We have your data acquisition details and your data acquisition. And then I've actually, we want to go to surfaces. And as you see, I've already actually pulled in 3 of these just for shortness of time, because it takes a little while for them to come in. But I'm going to demonstrate how to pull in, of course, one of them for you. So we want to right-click on surfaces, create surface, import external surface, and import LiDAR LAS. So we'll click on that. Okay, so we'll go to cancel that, and it'll pop up our desktop. So we'll scroll down here. See, 128,399 is the one I want to pick, so I'll open that. Okay, so now our LiDAR LAS window appears. And as you can see, you have several features that you can select. And remember, when these LAS files are created, anything that the laser beam encounters, it creates a point for that. So for this roadway design project that we're working on, we only want the ground surfaces. So we would make sure we want to click on ground. Now for some LAS files, there will be a feature called a model key. And with the model key, that is already that's already a feature that has been thinned out to where it's already the ground points, and it has been thinned so that you could use that too. But for our case, we'll have to use the ground. And there are several filter options to choose from here. You can use a tile filter, a tin filter, or no filter. Now when you use the model, if you have a model key option available for your features, you would select no filter, because that model key has already been filtered for you. Now the tile filter, we don't use. It's not common practice for us to use that, just because we don't want to filter the tile. So for common practice for KYTC, we will use the tin filter. When determining a value for the Z tolerance, you can see the Z tolerance here. It is important to think about what you are wanting to get from your data. If you want to see curb and gutter, then your Z tolerance should not be set to more than 0.5 feet, which is the height of the standard curb. If you are needing this information for planning purposes, you can increase the Z to make the files easier to work with. Because remember, the smaller the Z, the more points you're going to have in your final surface when you create your DTM from this information. For design purpose, you want to lower your Z to make the desired surface a lot tighter. And then also there's the coarse filter and the fine filter. And the coarse filter will filter more points, but will have some blurring. The ridges and valleys will be a little bit blurred. And then the fine filter will filter fewer points with less blurring of the ridges and valleys. So in our case, we're going to use coarse, and I'm going to keep the Z tolerance set at 1. So say we're doing, this is for planning purposes, is what we're getting this information for. And actually you can hit filter, and you can, this will give you the percent reduction in your points, and it'll tell you what it was and what it went to. Okay, so we had 850,000 points, and it reduced it to 107,000 by 87%. And so we accept that. You have to always remember to accept that. Okay. So then it put our information right here. And as you can see in your details window, it shows the name of the tile, the side length, the number of triangles, break lines, contours, high-low range, all that good kind of stuff. Now we want to be able to put a boundary or use a polygon or some kind of shape to bound our tiles, because we don't need the whole tile for our project area. So the way to do that would be to right-click on your tile. Actually, I just messed up because we need to select your boundary first. Select your boundary, right-click on your tile. You want to clip by polygon, and you want it to be external. Okay, so as you can see, we had like 200-something thousand triangles. Now we only have 63,000. So it decreased. It did clip it, and it decreased our triangles by quite a bit. And I had already done that with the other 3 tiles that we would need. So now what we want to do is we want to create a folder where we can put all 4 of these all 4 of the LAS files or the LAS data together into one. So I want to right-click on surfaces. I want to create surface, and I want to empty the surface. Oops. Yeah, empty surface. Yeah. So then I want to go over here to data acquisition details, and you see that it says surface 5. I'm going to rename that to Floyd County LiDAR, and that'll tell us that that's our LiDAR that we're needing for our project. And you'll see once I just click in the box, it updates the name over here. Now we need to add the LAS data into this folder. So we need to right-click on the Floyd County LiDAR folder. And what we want to do is we want to append from. And what this does is this will, and then click on each folder. And what this does is these files are actually references into our Floyd County LiDAR. So I'm adding all of these in there. Append from. And as you can see, our triangles are growing as we're adding, so you know that it is adding these in there, or actually referencing them in there. So you want to, since these are referenced into the Floyd County LiDAR, you do not want to delete any of your LAS tiles that you brought in until you have already created your DTM, or you will have empty spot for that tile in your surface because they are referenced. I wanted to point out too on here, you can actually use your drop-down boxes here, and you'll be able to see break lines, triangles, holes, major contours, minor contours, any of these things you're able to see on your drawing. Let's see, let's click on major contours, and there you go. That's what our surface will look like. And I want to zoom in too and see how our contours are kind of a little bit jagged. That's because that's normal with LiDAR data, because there are so many points within this file or within this surface that it doesn't make them as smooth as what we normally see. See how they're kind of jagged? But that's okay, because it is a good surface. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to save this data into a DTM. So we'll right-click on Floyd County LiDAR, export to, inroads DTM. Okay. And make sure I got my folder selected where I want to store it. Okay. And I'm going to call it Floyd County LiDAR. Oops. I'm going to copy this here so I know exactly what file it is. And then we're going to save it. Okay, so now we have it saved. So actually, I just want to show you real quick. If I say I delete this, and I go to the Floyd County LiDAR, and I show, you'll see that this section has been deleted. That's because it is a reference. So that is very important for everybody to remember. Don't delete it until you've already created your surface. And since we already created our surface, it was okay. Okay, so now I'm going to open En-ROADS. Okay, I'm going to open my surface, Floyd County LiDAR. Okay. Now let's, we want to make sure, we know everything was in there before we made the DTM, but I'm going to double check it and make sure that all my information was in there. So I want to, actually let me delete these contours that I put on here. Oh, actually I probably just have to turn them off. Here we go. Oh. Okay, well that's fine. Okay, so let's go to Surface, View Surface, and we'll view contours. Make sure we have our preference selected. Existing contours, load that. Close. And I want to make sure I have a fence. Hit apply. Okay, it'll ask you to retriangulate, yes. It's processing. Still processing. I should have zoomed in and done a smaller area. I'm sorry, y'all. Still processing. Yep, I should have done a smaller area. Yeah, note to self, make sure you zoom in on an area before you view any contours. Hopefully it'll pop up here in just a minute. While we're waiting on this, you all, if you'll notice, there's a questions box there on your webinar. If you have any questions or anything, go ahead and be thinking about some questions that you might have to ask, or if any, and make sure you write them in there so that we can answer any questions. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry, I had a brain lapse. I should have zoomed in on a smaller area. It's taking a while. Can I cancel? So maybe try to cancel it, but I hope I don't lock it up.
Hey, Wendy?
Yeah.
While we're waiting there, I got a question about this.
Okay.
What would be the Z tolerance for design purposes should you use the coarse or fine setting?
If you're like tying in, like, well, of course you'll need conventional survey if you're tying in like your roads at each end. I mean, I guess it just depends on how tight you want your surface. I mean, I would probably use fine, so that way it's not as blurred, you know, and it's more concise. I would probably use the fine for that, and probably a Z tolerance of, well, if it's urban, then I would use, you know, a smaller number to catch like the curb and all that stuff. But if it's more rural, then I would probably, you know, you could probably get by with like a, you know, 0.75 or somewhere between 0.75 and 1. And as you can see, okay, it's finally processed here. And I got some contours, but I think I reset it before it did the rest. But it does show that we did have contours. If I zoomed in on a smaller area, did a fence in a smaller area, say right here. Side and viewed my contours just in the fence. I'm thinking it was gonna pop up an error about crossing boundaries. And if you get an error about crossing boundaries, then, and it's not gonna do that. But if you get this error, what you'll want to do, it means that the exterior boundary in your surface needs to be deleted because it's crossing several points. So you would go to Surface and Edit Surface and Delete Feature, and what you would do is you would need to delete that boundary right there. And that may be what this has done. I may need to delete my boundary. That way it's, let's see, apply. Okay. And then close that. And if we try to view contours again and click the fence, and then it'll ask you to retriangulate, and it should show you your contours or your triangles or whatever it is you're trying to see. So that's pretty much the gist of everything on how to use the LiDAR data, see it, find out what you need, pull it into MicroStation, use the files, and that did work. See, that got rid of that boundary right there, so that covered that whole fenced area that I was looking at. So to pull in LiDAR information, to save it as a DTM, and then actually use it in your project. So if anybody has any questions, fire away.
Thanks, Wendy. We don't have any questions right now. So
No questions? Okay.
Your switch, we'll if we get any more later, hang on, and we'll take care of them after the fact.
Okay. So did you take over already for the screen?
I'm taking over.
Okay.
All right. So thanks, Wendy. You did a really good job. I know you were apprehensive about it being your first time and all, but I thought you did really well. And of course, the most important question is, why did you pick Floyd County for your example? And the answer is because it's the greatest county in the state. So while Wendy is trying to switch out with Alex to cover some MicroStation tips and tricks, and got a little time to kill here, I just wanted to remind everyone that the survey is coming up afterwards. Make sure you fill that out and help us come up with content for the September webinar. And again, ask questions. Just submit those, even over Wendy's session. If there's anything you need to know, we'll try to get to it at the end. Maybe running a little long today, I'm not sure, but we'll try to get to it. May take them a minute or two to get switched over. And hopefully everyone has gotten certificates for their previous webinars. If not, we'll have to get those out soon. But again, getting training credit for this for everyone that's signed up as an attendee. Alex, I see you're on here. Are you ready to go, or?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm ready.
Okay. I'll go ahead and switch this over. Alex is I'll give him control now, and he's going to show us some MicroStation tips and tricks and the KYTC task menu.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, good morning, everyone. As Kevin spoke, I'm Alex Smith. I work in highway design here in central office in the technical support branch, and I'll also just so glad that everyone's here this morning. Some of the stuff I'm going to go over today is probably things that a lot of you all know, but we also know there's a lot of new people that maybe don't understand some of it. So if I bore you, I'm sorry. If not, I hope you get something out of it. All right. The first thing I wanted to go over was the KYTC task menu. The menu on the example on your left there is one that probably people are most familiar with. And as you can see down there towards the lower part of that, you can see the KYTC workflow, the KYTC software, and so on and so forth. But what I did want to do is make sure that people realize that they can also be seen up in that the top part of MicroStation there under KYTC task. In this example, I'm actually logged in a workspace that is in the KYTC roadway workspace. If you were logged in to MicroStation through a workspace that was traffic, you would see KYTC traffic or KYTC structures, that type of thing. So I'm not real for sure. Most people are probably aware of this, but I do just want to point that out. Also, in there you'll see the KYTC software. The KYTC software tab there, I just wanted to point those out, that those are the ones that if we are adding anything, any new macros that Henry Wells has written or any of the others around, that's where it would show up, as there in the KYTC software. I don't want to go into a lot of detail with this. Henry's going to be putting on a presentation next month on a lot of these, so don't want to steal his thunder, but did want to point out that there are some there. I will just kind of point out a couple of things, that the majority of the machines now we are running Windows 7. So there's two of them, the eSheet and also the Prep XS section. That one there, those two you will need to drop down to the very bottom and do the Windows 7 version. The other area I wanted to point out was the KYTC web. The web stuff has been around. We've had those in there for a while, but periodically we are adding some new things in there. One I wanted to point out was the KYTC software and support one, the one that's at the very bottom here. That particular one is will actually take you to the webinars, past webinars that we've done. So, excuse me, even if you can't remember exactly how to get there, through just going through the web, you can get there from here inside of MicroStation. All right, let's jump into the tips and tricks part of that. Open up MicroStation here. And again, some of these tips and stuff that are there, some of them have been around a little while. I did want to point out one thing before I get to the tips part when MicroStation opens. Down in the KYTC workflow, the very bottom palette we have is a scales palette. This palette in the past it's kind of confused people, because what happens, what you have to do is actually come here, select the scale first, and then come up and select whatever it is that you're wanting to do. At that point in time, your scale would represent in that. I know some people have got a little frustrated and stuff with that. They want to select their command and then come down and select the scale, but the proper way is to select your scale, then select the command that you want. Once the scale is selected, you do not have to keep coming down and selecting that. I will just give a little tidbit of information as we move forward to the Select Series 3 stuff of MicroStation. That Scales tab will be there, but it'll actually be doing a little different. It will be actually setting model properties instead of an active scale key-in type thing. So, all right, let's get back on track here. And what I want to do here is just pull out a command or a tip, and let's see what it is that we got. All right, the first one I pulled out is transparency. The transparency on the dialogues I'm talking about are these up here. Let's take the AccuDraw one, for instance. You can set a transparency, and you can set that down, let's say, set it to there. And at that point in time, it's not in our way. We can see through it. But there's been some people in the past that felt like that they didn't like that exactly the way that it was doing. So Bentley has added a function that's under Workspace Preferences. Actually, let me cancel that. Let me set this transparency back to the 0. And let's go to Workspace Preferences. Under Looks and Feel, there's one here that says Transparency dialogues become opaque when receiving focus. Let's turn that on. Tell it OK. Now let's set our transparency again. And what happens is, well, it did this to me the other day. Let's try it on this one. When you have focus back on the palette, you'll see that it takes off and highlights or becomes bold again. Again, that's pretty neat little thing. I will set that back to 100 or to 0. I mean. And we'll move on. This one here, the double click to fit a view. I've created some links to different models within this design file. To do the double click the rolly wheel that's there on your mouse. If you double click that, and this one here is really sensitive, it will actually fit the view, and I'll get it here in a second. There we go. For whatever reason, this one we've got it set very sensitive, and it's kind of hard to do, but it will play with it. You'll get the hang of it. It works pretty good and pretty slick. Let's go back to to my original one, and let's pull out of this different views within inside of a model. This is one that we'll see, especially as we move forward more into the Select Series 3 stuff and the newer inroads. Models are going to become a bigger component than what we've seen in the past. So again, I've got quite a few models inside of this design file that I'll be going through today. So what we can do is we can come up here, and sometimes it might be collapsed like that, but you can uncollapse it. And I'm going to select this one here just because I know it's a different drawing. And at that point in time, you'll see that we were showing two different models in the same view. This might be very handy as we move forward, and being able to show plan view in one and a cross-section model or something, profile model in another option out there. Well, this one was contrary the other day. All right. Okay, level display and level manager. I'm sorry there, I hit the microphone. This one I thought was pretty neat. Again, I think it's something that probably people have figured out, but inside of the level manager, you can actually sort off of a lot of the different things. For instance, I just double-clicked on name and I sorted off of it. The one I wanted to point out that I use quite a bit, and maybe others do as well, is this use category or use column. Just select it, and I just sorted on it, and now we can see all the levels that have been used. You can also in this area do a right mouse button, and you could turn on this or the descriptions, for instance, and have those in there that you can see. Or you know, there's a number of things you could turn on and turn off with inside of that. This also works not only in Level Manager but in Level Display as well. Again, you can turn on and off, or you can sort off of whichever column you want. All right, let's see what our next one is. The drag selection support. This one was one that I thought was pretty neat. A lot of y'all probably have figured out that you can hit your right mouse button at that point in time. You get this this menu coming up. One thing you can do is you can say move, for instance, and if you pick a point and start drawing, at that point in time you can draw you a fence or a box, and then you will be able to move your data wherever you want. It's different than using the element selection tool, because if I did the element selection tool, once I've got it, then I have to go back up here and I have to clear that selection. The way by just hitting the right mouse button and doing the move, you don't have to do the clear that selection. One thing I did want to point out is if you go to the from left to right and you get the solid box, at that point in time, that's an inside one. So as you can see, I didn't pick up all of the top note, I just got the bottom. If I go the other direction, let me move that real quick. If I go the other direction, you get the overlap, as maybe I pointed out a minute ago. So thought that was pretty neat, worked pretty well. Well, let's go back to my base model. Let's see, jump to active level. This was one that I had just found, and I personally thought it was really pretty good. You can do it again. It doesn't matter if it's level. Let's do level display. In this case, I don't really have a clue, and in the past what I would do is I scroll down through here and I would say, well, okay, let's find the level that I'm on. I know it's got to be green somewhere down in here. Let's see that there it is. And so then at that point in time I could do whatever I needed to do. What you can do with this other, no matter where you're at, you can hit your right mouse button, say jump to active level. At that point in time it'll take you to that level. That also works in Level Manager. It's probably in Level Manager, to me it was a little harder to find that green text that was down in here. You got to really be watching for it, and I probably already missed it, but no matter where I'm at, I can hit my right mouse button, jump to active level, and at that point in time it'll take me to that level. All right. Let's see, edit text in a cell. This is something that, again, I know has been around a while, but I did want to point this out. As you can see, this is a cell. If I highlight over it, it says that it is the SL cell. So what I want to do is I want to zoom in there and just change something. I'll change that R30 to R31 just so that we can see that that it did change, and all I did was use just a normal edit text and was able to change that. But one thing I did want to point out with inside of this design file is the inner data fields. This particular one, I just grabbed this project. To be honest with you, I'm not for sure exactly who did it and that type of thing, but the inner data fields wasn't used in this part of the sheet border. You can look to see your inner data fields by doing your view attributes and doing data fields. At that point in time, you'll see the data fields are the ones that come up with a little dash in there. Those you can use the edit data fields. You can pick in it, give it whatever it is that you need, and go from there. The problem with this particular one is that they did not actually use the data fields. They actually came in here and did edit text and did it that way. The problem comes in is by doing it this way, the eSheet macro that Henry has written will not pick that stuff up and will not read it. They did leave this data field here, and so we could put in today's date and it would show up. Most of the time your data fields are not going to show as far as with the dashes, just because it looks cleaner the other. So if you know where the data field's at, then you can go in and manipulate it by using just the I'm sorry, I was picking the wrong button. Again, if you know where they're at, you can just change them and go with it. Oh yeah. All right. Let's go back to my base model. I know we're running a little short on time, so I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. Panning with your cursor. This is one that probably a lot of people are familiar with. To do the panning with the cursor, all you got to do is hold down on the Shift key and your left mouse button, and at that point in time you can pan around. You can let go of the Shift key once you've got it moving and that type of thing. Again, that's a Shift key and just moving it around. Let's pull another one out there. Measure length. This was one that I thought was pretty handy, and there's a couple of things that you can do with it. One example that I'm going to show you is I'm going to measure a couple of lines here, but you could also take and select select like your guardrail and all the guardrail that's in there, and you could actually after making that selection, you could get your quantities by coming over here and doing this measure. It's the fourth one over, measure length. I've selected those and I made a data point. At that point in time, it's giving me the length that's on there. Let's clear that one just so you all can see that I'm selecting two different lines. Again, select it, make my data point, and you can tell that those two are different. Again, this is something that, you know, if you wanted to measure your guardrail or some of that, you can easily make those selection sets and do that. One of the things I did want to point out that I was hoping to get into this, and I just didn't have time to put it in yesterday, but you can also do your measure area by taking and selecting a couple of things and doing the flood command. That will allow you to do that. And if there's anybody that's got questions on that, you know, feel free, and I'll try to answer those either now or at a later point in time. If you want to just contact me. All right, let's see what my next one is. The AccuDraw coordinate readout. This is one that I had run into or found that I thought was pretty neat. This particular, as you can see, the AccuDraw box right now has the X, Y, and Z. You can actually do a key in, and if you put in AccuDraw settings northeast, hit your enter key, as you can see at that point in time, we are now reading it as a northern easting reading and not the XY. So that might be something kind of handy to get that back to the XY. If you just go back to your key in, do AccuDraw settings XY, then it will switch it back. And I do have a slide here in a minute that have those key ins a little better so that you all can see them. And the last one that I have here is the alt data equal match. This is one that I thought was pretty neat. As you can see right now, I'm in the default level, and everything's set to by level as far as my color, style, and weight. But you can see we're at a color of white, style of 0, and a weight of 0. But if I hit the Alt key and then just select with my left button a piece of text or whatever, at that point in time you can see now I'm on R_PL_notes_PT, and it's changed the colors as well to match that level. So let's select this Woodford County. You can see that's changed. You can select, you know, pretty much anything, and it will change that and match those attributes with that. All right, so I think at this point in time we're ready to go back to here. Again, there is the key ins. They're both fairly easy. If you just started typing the AccuDraw, it'll auto-populate a lot of that. Same for if you just start typing settings, it'll auto-populate a lot of that as well. So hope this has been beneficial to you. And I guess I'm going to turn it back over to Kevin to see if there's any questions.
I don't have any questions right now. Give people just a second if you want to go ahead and start shutting her down. But thanks for that, Alex. That was some good information. I do have one question here. I've got some.
Kevin, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? You can hear me? Alex, you still there? Okay, Alex is gone. Thanks, Gene. I'm getting some really bad echo on my end.
Hello to the world. Is there anybody there?
All right, we're having some issues. Let's see. Somebody asked about the certificates. I mentioned earlier you should have received them. I thought you would have received them. We're checking on that, so hang tight. We'll hopefully shoot out several all at once. I apologize if you haven't gotten those yet. Someone's asking about posting this webinar. It takes quite a bit of time to process this stuff. We go back in, edit out some of the audio, and we have to put closed captionings on it. It's one of the rules. And then get that processed and uploaded to the website. We're still behind on last month's. Just gotten busy and haven't been able to do anything yet. So hopefully that one will come out very soon. Sorry if it's a month delay. Really apologize for that. Anything else here? Anybody else got any other questions? If not, we've run long, about 10 minutes longer than we hoped to, but thanks for tuning in. Again, if you have any other questions, you can call us, email us at that CAD support group email address. And thanks for attending. Hopefully you'll tune in for Troy's HECRAS session. I think it's next Tuesday, I believe. So with that, we'll sign off and appreciate your time and attendance.